Well, good morning. My name is Chris Rowena, Lead Communications Analyst at Health Workforce Development. We're excited that you've joined us today for the Behavioral Health Scholarship Program, or BHSP, informational webinar. Here is the agenda for today's webinar. For our agenda today, I will be doing housekeeping and introduction. After that, Dr. Sharmil Shah will go through a program overview. It's like we're doing a little refresh here. There we go. All right. Yes, Dr. Sharmil Shah will do a welcome and overview of the program. From there, the program officer, Diana Garcia, will introduce the program elements, the application process, and evaluation. From there, we will have a question and answer session, and we will be going through that at length for you guys, get all of your questions answered. And from there, Dr. Sharmil Shah will do some closing remarks. We do have a poll for you today. We would like to know if you're here for undergraduate or postgraduate level education. This poll is anonymous, and this will help us gauge interest in the program. So please submit which area of education you're looking for on this, whether it's undergraduate or postgraduate, or if you're representing one of those levels, please indicate that as well. We appreciate that. Before we begin, I would like to discuss a few housekeeping items. All right, number one, this webinar is hosted in Microsoft Teams. If you're not familiar with the platform, you can find the camera, microphone, chat, and view controls in the menu bar at the top of your screen. Number two, the chat option will be open for asking questions during the Q&A session, which is at the end of this webinar. We are going to have the chat option closed until we get there, just to make sure we can get through the material. We do have a lot to cover today, so we want to make sure we get through that. So save your questions till we get to that section. And then number three, the webinar will be recorded and will be available within 7 to 10 business days. Due to an issue with Microsoft Teams platform, we do ask that you do not use the Q&A feature if you do see that option, and instead use this chat function to ask your questions when we get to that point. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. And with that, I am thrilled to introduce Dr. Sharmil Shah.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the Behavioral Health Scholarship Program webinar, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you. The Behavioral Health Scholarship Program aims to increase the number of trained behavioral health professionals providing direct care to underserved communities. And of course, those of you on this call all know that behavioral health treatment can significantly improve quality of life and help individuals develop healthier coping patterns so that stressors can be managed in more adaptable ways. You, all of you, as potential applicants for this program, will play a critical role in providing clinical behavioral health services to those living in underserved communities. But before we jump into the content of this webinar, I wanted to ground us a bit in the mission of our department. HCAI expands equitable access to quality, affordable health care for all Californians through resilient facilities, actionable information, and the health workforce that each community needs. Next slide, please. The Office of Health Workforce Development strives to fulfill that mission in several ways. Through developing, supporting, and expanding a health workforce that serves our medically underserved areas, serves Medi-Cal members, and represents the California it serves through racial and language diversity. The office also offers programs that provide financial support for organizations building the workforce pipeline, for organizations expanding educational capacity, and for people like you, individuals pursuing health careers, and organizations supporting providers and addressing retention. I'll do a quick behavioral health scholarship program overview by starting with our problem statement. It's always important to ground us in kind of why we're doing this and what we hope to achieve. Research says that 1 in 6 adults suffer from mental illness, and 1 in 14 children have a serious emotional disturbance. Despite a growing need for skilled behavioral health professionals, there is an inadequate supply of workers to keep up with the demand. California needs to expand its behavioral health workforce so that we can better address the unmet behavioral health needs in our diverse communities. The purpose of this scholarship program is to increase the supply of trained behavioral health workforce in California. We currently have $7 million available to fund individual scholarships of up to $35,000 for undergraduate applicants and up to $25,000 for certificate and graduate applicants. This program is proudly funded by the Children and Youth Behavioral Health Initiative, which supports behavioral health professionals to serve children and youth ages 0 through 25 years. I will now turn it over to Diana Garcia, who will get us started. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. My name is Diana Garcia. Good morning. I'm going to go over the program elements and the key dates. To begin with, the eligible professions, we have one of 2 pages, and this list also appears in the Behavioral Health Scholarship Programs Grant Guide. I wanted to also let you know that the Certified Wellness Coaches is another scholarship program that we currently have. It's not included here because there's a separate scholarship opportunity for those wanting to pursue this profession. A webinar about the Wellness Coach Scholarship Program is taking place this Thursday, April 18th at 2:00 p.m. And you can register for the webinar on our website at hcai.ca.gov for more information about this program. And you can also visit the Wellness Coach webpage at https://hchi.ca.gov/workforce/certified-wellness-coach/. But if you can take a moment and look at the first slide for our eligible professions. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Moving on to the awards. Applicants are eligible for up to $35,000 for undergraduate students and up to $25,000 for certificate and graduate students. Award levels. HCAI may award full, partial, or no funding to an applicant based on the applicant's criteria score and the amount of available funds. Applicants will be awarded no more than their total cost of attendance for 1 year of the program. Within 6 months of graduation, awardees must begin 1 year of service obligation, providing direct client care in a qualified work site. Next slide, please. The key dates. The application became available on April 9th, 2024. The informational webinars today, April 16th at 9 a.m. And the application submission deadline is May 24th at 3:00 p.m. We anticipate the award notice dates to go out July 2024, and the scholarship grant agreement start date will be in August of 2024. Next slide, please. The Behavioral Health Scholarship Program application process. The application has 9 sections. Sections include the general information, profile information, contact information, when contact is required, and that needs to be a contact that is outside of the applicant's household. Educational information, professional information, the scholarship program verification, any employment history. These required documents can be acceptable in the formats of .jpg, .doc, .docx, and .pdfs. Please ensure that you use the acceptable format or your application will be rejected. And the last component, the last section, is the application certification. Next slide, please. And the award amounts. As noted above, undergraduate applicants are eligible for up to $35,000. The certificate and graduate applicants eligible up to the $25,000. As funding permits, grantees may apply each year for another Behavioral Health Scholarship Program, BHSP award. For each award, the grantee will be required to serve an additional 1-year service obligation. To remain eligible, the individual must still be enrolled in a behavioral health certificate, associate, bachelor, master, and/or doctoral program and meet all other BHSP eligibility requirements. Next slide, please. Post-award and payment provisions. HCAI expects that the grantee will begin performance of the grant agreement on the start date listed on the grant award documents. The State Controller's Office mails a paper check directly to the grantee's address on file. Please ensure that we have your most current address on file to avoid delay in payment. HCAI cannot provide tax advice to grantees. HCAI are not tax professionals, and tax consequences may vary depending on the grantee. For this reason, please seek professional tax advice as a grantee. HCAI reserves the right to recover monies for a grantee's failure to perform service and other grant agreement obligations. The evaluation and scoring procedures. The application evaluation criteria includes the following themes: income-based financial situation, experience working in an underserved area or with underserved groups, experience with homelessness, experience with the foster care or child welfare system, first-generation college student, languages spoken other than English, an academic setting, including California Community College, California State University, or University of California. And also the last criteria being a prior grantee through the Behavioral Health Scholarship Program. Next slide, please. The grant application resources may be found on our website. You can review the BHSP grant guide before starting the online application. You can also review the Behavioral Health Scholarship Program Technical Assistance Guide before starting your application. The online application is noted as 2024-2025 BHSP online application. And for more information, please visit us at our email address or send a message to us at our email address at the Behavioral Health Programs. Email address bhcai.hcai.ca.gov. And please check out our HCAI's funding eligibility tool on our website. And for questions and answers, I will turn it over to Chris Roina, our communications analyst. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. As you can see, our team has put a lot of work into this program, and we're very excited that you have joined us today to learn more. We're going to transition to our question and answer session, and the chat option is now accessible in the menu bar at the top of your screen. We will answer the questions in the order that they are received, and we will do our best to answer all the questions that you have for us today. And so let's go ahead and open up the chat for the questions. All right, first question. Are there any essay prompts that we have to submit?
There are not.
Good news for everybody out there. All right, next question. If someone is approved for FAFSA, can they still apply for the scholarships?
Yes. Financial assistance, applying for financial assistance through your college or your school is noted and acceptable.
Right. Allie has a question. Did you say that you have to be awarded a prior scholarship?
You do not have to be awarded a prior scholarship, but it is one of the criteria in the scoring if you were a recipient of a BHSP scholarship in the last cycle.
Okay, All right, next question says, hello, I am eligible to apply, but when I started the application, it said I was not able to continue.
Thank you. It may be a technical issue. It could be a variety of different reasons, a browser issue and so forth. If you could stop and restart your application where you ended, restart it after a few hours or a day's worth. And then if you still continue with any difficulties in proceeding or have questions, please visit us at our website, the email address bhprogram@hcaa.ca.gov.
All right, thank you. And as a reminder, that's a good reminder, Diana, we do have pinned at the top of the chat, you can see in the menu bar that on the chat there is a note pinned that has all the resources for today, including that email address. All right, next question. Where do we repay the time? Is it within BHS?
The service obligation is after the graduation from the educational program within 6 months, you would apply and secure a position in one of the eligible facilities, in one of the eligible positions, and you can find that information in our grant guide.
All right. Morty asks, how will we know what is proper employment post-graduation?
That information is provided in the grant guide. It is behavioral health, working in behavioral health. Thank you.
Elaine asks, is there recommendation letters required?
Not that I am aware, no recommendation required.
Right. Next question, will we be emailed the slide decks of this presentation? And I can go ahead and answer that question. We are recording this webinar, and we will be sending out to everyone who registered a link to the recording and a link to the slide deck. And typically that will be within 7 to 10 business days that we get that out. Next question, how many times can applicants apply for and receive the award as a post-grad?
Applicants may apply if they are eligible for each year that they are in the school program, in the program. You can only accept and receive one scholarship at a time. So just to keep that in mind, all of that information is also in the grant guide.
And I think that answers the next question. Can we be eligible for 1 year only? All right. What if I attend a school outside of California?
Unfortunately, you would not be eligible for the scholarship programs. They require school attendance in a California-based school headquartered in California, and the applicant must also live in California.
Thank you, Diana. Jordan asks, are people eligible to apply if they have a stipend for LA County?
That depends. You do have to disclose that you are receiving other funding sources, and it's in the grant guide listed as with further information, but you cannot have a service obligation that would conflict with the service obligation through HCAI.
All right, thank you. Connie asks, can you expand on the work obligation?
The work obligations for the Behavioral Health Scholarship Program, it's a 12-month requirement in an underserved area within a required profession or eligible profession. That detailed information is available in the grant guide on locations where you can work and also in the professions that you may work in.
All right. When do the funds usually disperse?
The funds dispersed after the awards are announced, and I believe it would be, according to the calendar, it's also noted in the grant guide in August of 2024.
All right. Cameron asks, does private practice count as an eligible work site if it is within a health professional shortage area?
We do not look at prior work experience to count towards your service obligation. Service obligation must occur after graduation for a period of 12 months.
I believe the question is, are they able to work in a private practice
I'm sorry.
as counting towards their work obligation?
Their obligation. You may, if it is within an underserved area, and fits the other qualifications noted in the grant guide.
Actually, it's not allowed.
Yep.
Refer to the grant guide of the type of settings. They're primarily public and nonprofit organizations.
Thank you, Anne. All right. Next question, Kimberly asks, does it include school like Alliant Capella or National University for school eligibility?
The schools should be nonprofit, public, or private universities in California. So there is the criteria for the UCs and the Cal States and the community colleges, but nonprofit colleges are applicable.
All right. Can you share the link for the criteria to become a qualified work site?
We can't do that at this time, but if you email us, we would be able to provide that information to you, and you may find that also within the grant guide under the criteria, scoring criteria.
Next question. For the cost of attendance, is it for living on campus or off?
It is for both. It's what the school considers as part of the cost of attendance for 1 year of education.
Abigail asks, is there an interview?
There is no interview.
All right. And Norm asks, does one have to be completely enrolled before applying? What about for those in the process of enrolling?
If you're in the process of enrolling, you will still need to provide the documentation that you will be going to that. But to accept the award, you do have to be fully enrolled.
Right. And Ashley asks, the VSP form is only one form. Can it be submitted in each of the designated locations?
I don't understand that question. If you could follow up by email, or if anyone else is able to answer that for me.
Can you repeat the question, Chris?
Yeah. It says the VSP form is only one form. Can it be submitted in each of the designated locations?
Yeah, do send an email. It's a technical question.
All right. Again, you can send that email to bhprograms@hci.ca.gov. Thank you, Ashley. All right, next question. Where can we get technical support? bhprograms@hci.ca.gov. And again, that link is pinned in the chat. If you look at the top of the chat box, you'll see a little note pinned to the top, and it does have the link to that.
And we also have the technical assistance guide available right next to the grant guide on our website.
All right. Next question says, thank you for your time. Is there an essay component, which we already noted there is not? And the second part is there a list of qualified work sites?
There is a list of the qualified work sites or eligible work sites on our grant guide.
All right, next question. Dawn asks, if I got into a 1-year intensive program and I have to do summer school, will the scholarship cover the summer course?
The scholarship covers 1 year of what you have submitted for the cost of attendance for the scholarship. That's what you may be eligible for.
Right. Maria asks, how many scholarships will be awarded?
I don't have an answer for that. If anybody else could provide that.
It depends on the level of requests that we receive for the $7 million available for this grant cycle.
All right, thank you, Anne. Is this for students currently in college or already graduated?
Pardon, if you could repeat that.
Is this for students currently in college or for already graduated?
Currently in college. You must be currently enrolled or be enrolled by September 30th of 2024 in a degreed program.
All right, thank you. This user asks, does psychology qualify for the program? I only see assistant psychology.
Yes.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Anne. All right, Melissa asks, how is financial need determined? I will have to quit my full-time job in order to complete my unpaid field work during my master's program. However, my last tax docs will only reflect my income from last year, not my current situation.
Okay. I'm going to reach out.
So there's a form available in the application so that you can download and tell us what your expenses are, and then upload that form at the end of the application, and that's what your need is based on.
Jessica, did you have more to add to that?
Yeah, I will go ahead and add, just in case, I don't know if the questioner was thinking about it in terms of your our evaluation of your application. So as Anne indicated, in terms of what you're eligible for, that will be, you know, based on the other documentation you provide. In terms of how we evaluate you for funding, that's not going to be based on like your prior year income. We're going to look at what your historic need has been. So there will be a question that you'll answer where you'll indicate to us like other forms of need-based aid that you've received in the past. If you have received that, you'll indicate that. If you haven't, you can still proceed with the application. But the fact that maybe you didn't have high need in the past, but you will this coming year, that's not a barrier to you applying for the program.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. All right, next question. Can we apply for both of the scholarships, Golden State and the Behavioral Health Scholarship?
Yes, you may apply for any of the scholarships that you may be eligible for, but you can only accept one award.
All right, thank you. Oh,
I apologize. This is Clinton here. I'm the program manager. When you apply, we also offer a ranking so that you can tell us what your preference is. So if you want to apply for a behavioral health scholarship and then also a wellness coach, for example, you can rank it in 1, 2, 3, you know, whatever your preference is. But you can only get one.
that's a great note, Clinton. I appreciate that. I did notice that we do have some people that have raised their hands, and we do have so many people on the webinar today that it would take too long for us to answer everybody's question if we were doing them with hand raised. We do ask that you use the chat feature to ask your questions. So if you do have your hand raised, please go ahead and ask your question in the chat. If you do think that your question is too complicated to put in the chat, please email us at bhprograms@hci.ca.gov. We'll be happy to help you there. All right, next question. Will we be able to register for other HCAI scholarships for the same year as the one that applies? Actually, we just answered that question. Yes, but you'll only be awarded one. Right, Diana? All right. Next question, Brianna asks, if I've received a scholarship from a private organization that requires a service commitment, can I still be eligible for HCAI?
You may not if it conflicts with the HCAI's service obligation.
All right. Alexis asks, what are example jobs that people take after they graduate?
You can find that in the eligible professions in the grant guide, but it could be a clinical or a licensed clinical social worker, licensed psychologist, licensed marriage and family therapist. There's over 40 professions noted in there.
All right. And if you're unfamiliar with the grant guide, you haven't had a chance to look at that yet. Again, please look in the chat pinned at the top. You will see the grant guide as one of the pinned resources that you can go reference. This is a great question. Diana says that you mentioned a webinar this Thursday. Can you please reiterate the topic and the time?
The webinar on Thursday is for the Wellness Coach Scholarship Program. And if I could have Anne expand a little bit, or one of my other colleagues on board.
Hi, thanks. Happy to do that. So we are offering for the first time a scholarship opportunity for a new profession called a certified wellness coach. And this is individuals who are interested in studies in addiction studies, social work, or human services. More information is available in the grant guide. And if you go to the website for the scholarships, you'll see a link to that program. And I'll try and find it and put it in the chat before we end.
Thank you, Anne. And sorry, Chris, just a reminder, that webinar is at 2:00 p.m. this Thursday, April 18th.
Perfect. Thank you both. All right. Amanda asks, or excuse me, Amanda asks, for the year's work commitment, is it possible to work part-time as an independent contractor in 2 different agencies?
It may be possible. You would have to provide the employment verification forms that you are completing up to those 32 hours of direct service in your position.
All right, thank you. Next question. When I was filling out the application, it said I would be going to graduate school and it prompted me to submit a deferment letter. Is that because I will be in grad school for the next 2 years? I was confused.
Correct. If you are going to be attending graduate school immediately after you graduate from this program, then you would need to submit the deferment letter.
Thank you. Does a postdoc internship count as work position within 6 months of graduation?
I'm going to ask.
Yeah, you must graduate. So typically internships are not available to graduates, but it depends on your program. If you're either volunteering or employed after graduation, that time accounts toward that obligation, as Diana said, 32 hours a week.
All right. Next question. Hi, I noticed that there is a PDF form to submit that calculates the cost of attendance. Do I use my own rent living costs for this part or what my school puts on their website?
You would put your cost of attendance, what it is for you as a student.
Okay, let's see. I believe we answered this question before, but verify since we have so many people on. So we can receive FAFSA and the Behavioral Health Scholarship.
Yes.
All right, next question. Where do we obtain a list of approved BHSP hospitals or underserved areas?
There is no direct list of the direct sites available. There are the types of positions and the locations that could qualify, and those are noted in the grant guide.
Kayla asks, can our current place of employment be the approved work site? I currently work as a social worker.
Yes, but those service obligation hours must occur after your graduation from your educational program, and it must be the full-time work with 32 hours at least for direct service.
Right. Cassidy asks, I will be attending a school in California, but I am not a California resident. Can I still apply?
If you are enrolled in the school in California and you reside in California, you are eligible. If you do not live in California, fortunately, you may not be eligible.
Right. Next question, where can we apply? Once again, pinned at the top of our chat are all of the resource links, including our website. And on our website is the application portal to be able to apply for that. Is there a certain county or state we have to live in? California. Any county in California is eligible, correct? Yes. All right. How do you identify financial need, and when is the check dispersed if we are awarded? And I'll add on, how long does it take to get that disbursement?
So the cost of attendance is information that you would gather from your school to complete that cost of attendance form and upload that onto your application. And the awards will be available after August of 2024.
All right. Let's see. For graduate students doing a 3-year program, do they have to reapply every year?
For the scholarship, yes.
All right. Next question. Is receiving tuition reimbursement from my employer, is this a conflict?
Yes, you are asking us for how much funding you need, taking into consideration all of your resources. So yes, we would expect that you would adjust what you would ask for based on that support.
All right, next question. Morty asks, how long will you give students to get a job? How long do you give to complete the service credit? And how long are you giving students to get their first job?
The requirement is within 6 months of your graduation from your educational program. You need to secure employment, a position, and you have a commitment of 12 months in that position in a full-time capacity, up to 32 hours of direct service.
All right, thank you. I know we've touched on this a little bit, but how does being a prior grantee for this award affect an applicant's evaluation? They're asking for evaluation criteria and how that affects them.
Those grantee applicants are very highly likely to receive an award based on the scoring, which is outlined in the grant guide.
All right, thank you, Anne. Brittany asks, if you're a California student attending an online out-of-state school, are you eligible? And I believe the answer is, again, the school has to be in California as well as yourself. All right. Next question. Does working or volunteering with underserved count even if they aren't officially HPSA? I volunteer with the Trevor Project and 988 Lifeline, but because they are remote, they aren't listed as HCAI underserved because they don't have an associated address. Does this work still count?
I'm going to give that to Jessica.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on if you're asking, does it count for purposes of your future service agreement, in which case that is specifically outlined in the grant guide. Diana might have a follow-up to that too. If you're asking for the purposes of the application, we're going to ask you, have you volunteered in in the past, currently, or have you in the past worked for? Do you currently work with underserved populations at a CBO or nonprofit? So please confirm that the Trevor Project is a nonprofit. To my understanding, it is. And so if you are volunteering with them for purposes of your application to tell us I have prior application experience working with underserved communities, then for that it would be yes. But in terms of your post-service obligation, I'll confirm with Diana, but I don't think it will work for that purpose.
Correct. It has to qualify with the service obligation facilities that are noted in the grant guide. If it falls within those criteria, then it would fulfill the service obligation. But as Jessica had mentioned, it may fulfill the applications criteria, but you want to double check in the grant guide if it fulfills the service obligation. We lost you, Chris.
Yeah, it wasn't letting me unmute there for a second. Get some webinar gremlins today. All right, Norm asks, will this program still be around next year?
I'm gonna get some help from Anne on that.
We do not know, and so stay tuned. Look for an announcement on our website in next year around March or April.
Next question. If we were awarded last year with anticipated graduation this year, but our program needs to be extended by a year, are we eligible to apply again this year?
If you are enrolled, you may be eligible, but you do have to provide your estimated graduation date to us, and that would be completed on the scholarship verification form that you submit in the application. So you can update that information from your school on your estimated graduation date, and if you are enrolled, then you may be eligible to apply for the scholarship.
All right, and this looks like this goes a little bit further into this. Can you explain the each year component of the scholarship? Is it because you only receive money for each year's tuition and fees, or do you get a block grant of $35,000 per year?
You can receive up to $35,000 a year, and your information on the cost of attendance is what we determine also for what may be the cost, but the maximum is up to $35,000. It may be less, but would not be more.
All right, thank you. I have an internship that pays a stipend. Am I still applicable for the scholarship? There is no service obligation attached to the internship stipend.
You would have to disclose that that is part of your cost of attendance, that you are receiving that funding. And then depending on the criteria, we would determine if you are eligible for the scholarship.
John asks a good question. What is the difference between this scholarship and the Golden State Social Opportunities Program? For context, I'm a social work graduate student currently.
There are two scholarships running current with each other. You can see in the grant guide the different professions or the exclusive professions allowed in the Golden State Social Opportunities, and then the professions that are available or allowed through the BHSP.
If I can add to Diana's description, an important distinction is that the Golden State Social Opportunity Program is a 2-year service obligation, whether you receive 1 or 2 years of support. And it is just for graduate students in 4 disciplines: social work, marriage and family therapy, licensed professional clinical counselors, and psychologists, whereas the BHSP is much broader and is a one-year award.
All right. Thank you, Anne. Got a note here from, looks like Jean Coffee. I can fill out the application and create the files for the submission the way it is described, but the application will not let me submit the forms. Sounds like we may need Jean to go ahead and send us an email for support, yeah? All right, yeah, go ahead and email bhprograms@hci.ca.gov and we'll give you help there. All right, next question. In regard to the application, there is a question that asks about how many units are you currently enrolled in? I am transferring to a four-year college for fall 2024, and I plan to enroll full-time. Should I put down how many units I plan to take or put 0 since I am not enrolled for classes yet?
You have to put that you are taking at least 6 units. That is the eligibility requirement. 6 units, semester units, or the equivalent in quarter units, but it is 6 units to full-time enrollment in the program until the completion of the program.
Okay. And I know we've gone over this several times, but there's a new variation on the theme of the question. Can I be eligible for this scholarship if I will be attending school online with an out-of-state university, but will be working in California post-graduation?
Unfortunately, no. It has to be a California-based university or college. You have to live in California, and it can be an online program, but it has to be California-based school headquartered in California.
Okay. Ashley asks, the grant guide asks for the estimated time of program completion, but my university lists how long I have to complete the program. Is that acceptable, or does the form have to be specific?
If you could repeat that, Chris, for me.
Yeah, the grant guide asks for an estimated time of program completion, but my university lists how long I have to complete the program. Is that acceptable, or does the form have to be specific?
The form needs to be completed by the school or the school's registrar, and that will determine the estimated date of completion or graduation.
All right. Rachel asks, can you please confirm that BSW students can now defer employment obligation if going straight into MSW? Once completed their MSW, then the employment obligation begins.
So the deferment letter does need to be completed and submitted in your application that came about this cycle for BHSP. So that is available to be downloaded from the application, completed, and then uploaded back into the application.
Okay. All right, a few repeat questions here, so let's go on for the next new one here. Is this scholarship considered federal or state funding?
State funded, state of California.
Do recipients get awarded the full cost of attendance during the first year, or do they only get awarded the cost for each year?
They get awarded the cost for each year. It's one full year cost of attendance.
It's an interesting question. If we do not plan on working with children below the age of 25, are we not eligible? And if we do plan on working with people 25 or younger, when we do the one-year obligation, we must work with that age group gap.
For the BHSP, it is not a requirement to work with individuals under 25 years of age. And if I could ask Anne or someone to expand a little bit more on the Wellness Coach Scholarship Program.
The wellness coach is very specifically for children and youth up through age 25, because that is who this new certified wellness coach profession will serve.
All right, thank you. Mohammed asks, what is the average pay at the work sites? Not sure we can answer that question, but
Don't have that answer for you.
yeah, I think that's one that we can't answer. Just to verify for this attendee, private university in California, Fresno Pacific University, that one does qualify, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are we allowed to choose the site where we work? Will it be close to where we live?
It has to fit the qualifications to be a work site for your service obligation. So it must be fulfill an underserved area with underserved groups and or a nonprofit organization. And those are listed in the grant guide.
All right. Okay, this question, the eligible professions slide lists professions such as health case manager, behavioral health assistant. Those professional titles are generic. Behavioral health providers use a variety of terms to describe the undergraduate behavioral health employees. Is that okay if working job title is different?
It may be, it is, but it has to fit within the work site and those health professions. But please email, and you'll be emailing the grant officer, maybe myself, with that information once you do obtain a position for your service obligation.
Okay, asks if we are in community college and transfer to a university, does our time of service start after we graduate, and can we apply for a scholarship again before graduation and service?
It would occur, you have to submit the deferment letter, but it would occur after your graduation from your AA if you have not submitted the deferment letter. But if you do submit the deferment letter and it's accepted, then it would defer for up to 30 months.
All right. Next question. What was the number of applicants last year and how many were awarded scholarships?
Can ask for some help with that one.
Hello, this is Clinton. I'm the program manager. We awarded approximately 640 people total last year. In the case of last year, we actually had more money than we had demand. And this year it's the reverse of that. We are expecting more demand than we have money for. So it's not going to be the same circumstance. So be aware of that. Be careful with your application, fill it out completely, make sure all your forms are turned in. And then we'll consider you for eligibility and we'll award all the way until we run out of money.
All right, thank you, Clinton. All right, next question. Does work experience in underserved communities or with underserved groups that's considered an applicant's evaluation have to be in behavioral health? For example, would working at a school count?
I'll let Jessica answer that.
Yeah. Oops, hello. Sorry, I'm Jessica Fifield, working on some of the scoring pieces. So for this specific program, we are just asking if you volunteered or worked in either an underserved area or with underserved populations in the US or overseas. So if you worked, for example, at a school and you did not work with underserved populations, or if you volunteered at a school and you did not work with underserved populations, then you would indicate, no, it wasn't an underserved area or underserved population. If you worked at a school that was either in an underserved area or with underserved populations, then you would say, yes, I have done that. And then we'll evaluate that item accordingly. Just because I've seen it as a thread throughout this, in order to apply for this program, you do not have to have volunteer experience or work experience in underserved areas or in underserved population. It is something that we factor into your score. But if you have never volunteered anywhere, you have never worked anywhere, or it's not relevant, please still consider yourself eligible to apply. That's not an eligibility criteria. We would still love to receive your application.
Thank you, Jessica. All right, Nathan asks, if you're currently accepted into a graduate school and have submitted deposit to attend but are not yet able to enroll in classes, would this make you ineligible?
You would be eligible to apply, but you have to be fully enrolled to accept the scholarship and to be awarded the scholarship.
All right. Wayne asks, can you get money for previous year's schooling?
I don't know the answer to that. No, it's just this current year.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Bonnie asks, I am the program director at a family resource and empowerment center at a First 5 in Northern California. Would I be able to continue working in this position to fulfill the service obligation after receiving my MSW?
You would have to provide that information, and your service obligation would start within 6 months of your graduation, but you would be able to provide that information on your employment in that position. And you may qualify.
Okay. All right. Lucy asks, oh, Ann, did you have more to add?
No.
Oh, all right. Lucy asks, I heard from a current recipient that we need to take out a loan and the grant will repay the loan. Is this information correct?
This is not correct.
No.
You have to look at your own individual financial circumstances to determine whether or not you take out a loan.
All right. Is studying for a bachelor degree in psychology considered a behavioral health program? Clinton, did you have more to add to the previous one?
Yeah, if I could, I want to jump in here.
Yeah.
About the loan situation, we've had people that have been in a difficult circumstance this last year. So the purpose of the scholarship is not to repay a loan, okay? But I would caution you that after we make our awards, it can take us about up to 90 days to get money out to you. We do this as fast as we can, but there are hundreds of awards and we're limited by the processing capability of our staff here in the organization, and then also the state controller's office. So it may take time to get the money out. And so there are people that have financial difficulties or go through this. And I can't tell you how, what it is you have to do to get your way through school, but the money is on its way. Okay. We have no interest in if you have to take a loan out, it's not a requirement for us. We're giving money to you. But if you have to take out a loan to pay for your school or something like that while you're waiting for our money, if you're awarded, it's coming. It just takes a little time. So I want to throw that out there.
Thank you, Clinton. All right, next question. If I'm already receiving a stipend from HCAI, would it interfere with my eligibility to apply for this scholarship?
No, it would not if it's through HCAI. And if you are required to fulfill a service obligation, you would also be required to fulfill the service obligation for this scholarship. So it would just be an additional service obligation of 12 months or 24 months, whatever the service obligations may be.
right, so Lisa asks if students get a certificate in mental behavioral health from a community college, but not an AA, is that acceptable?
I'm sorry, if you could repeat that for me.
Yeah, if students get a certificate in mental behavioral health from a community college, but not an AA, is that acceptable?
I believe
Yes, it is. Yes.
All right, thank you, Anne. What if I'm attending part-time? Does that change the amount of the grant?
You have to be a full-time student enrolled up to 6 units per semester or the equivalent.
All right, after graduation, if I want to complete a PPS program in the summer, would my 6 months start after graduation, or can I get an extension for after the program to start paying back?
Anne, can you chime in?
Yeah. Chris, can you read the question again? I think I understand, but I just want to hear it one more time.
Absolutely. Georgina asks, after graduation, if I want to complete a PPS program in the summer, would my 6 months start after graduation, or can I get an extension for after the program to start paying back?
I think I'm familiar with what you're asking for, and please email us. I believe it would be 6 months after you complete your PPS certification.
Right. Thank you. And next question, can you apply for this scholarship and apply for the HCAI loan repayment programs a year later after you have graduated, but while fulfilling work requirements for this scholarship?
Yes, you can.
The next question, again, seeing a number of questions in here about location and residency in schools. Again, both the school and yourself must be in California to be eligible. I don't think we've answered this question specifically. Do online classes count towards the scholarship?
You must be in a degree program for an online California school.
And then does this cover doctoral programs?
Yes, it does.
All right, Lisa
Let me
asks,
clarify there that the only doctoral programs are ones that are direct service professions, such as a clinical psychologist or a school psychologist.
great clarification. Thank you, Anne. Is there a point person's contact information that we can have if we have any follow-up questions? Yes, please email us at bhprograms@hci.ca.gov, and you can find that linked in the chat, pinned at the top, and we will have that in the slide deck shortly at the end here, and we can help you with anything there. Clinton, did you have more to add to that?
Yes, please. If I could caution everybody about the BH program mailbox, please allow us up to 24 hours to respond. We have another webinar to do after this later in the day. And so our day is going to be pretty busy, and we're going to get hundreds of emails. So if we're not responding to you promptly, just please give us 24 hours and we'll get to you. Okay. Thank you.
Great. No, thank you, Clinton. What if my program begins in January?
Unfortunately, you would not be eligible to apply for this scholarship. You have to be enrolled by September 30th of 2024.
And similar question, my school is in the late stages of accreditation process. Is it eligible?
If it has not been accredited, it may not be eligible.
what matters is that it's accredited when you graduate so that your degree is recognizable by employer. So you're taking a risk if you attend a school that is not currently.
All right, let's see. If someone is barely working on their associate, are they eligible? Would they have to get a job within 6 months, Mark, after graduating with an associate? I ask because my friend would like to continue on to a bachelor's degree. I'm not quite sure I understand that question.
Yeah, they have to be fully enrolled in an AA and may be eligible to complete that deferment letter to obtain their bachelor's.
Correct.
All right. I start my MSW program in summer, June 2024. If I'm awarded, could I back pay my summer semester?
We are looking at what your tuition or your cost of attendance will be for the year, the upcoming school year 2024, 2025. How you utilize that funding or use that funding is at your discretion, but the intention is that the funding is for the school year of 2024, 2025.
All right. Can you get the grant if you have another work obligation that is similar to the HCAI work obligation?
And the service obligations exclusive to the HCAI scholarship. If it's for, it would conflict. If it conflicts with you working your service obligation within 6 months of your graduation, that comes first. If you have another service obligation, that would be in conflict.
Thank you. Melanie,
Let me add a little bit more. We have a unique situation where some people are getting stipends through social work programs, which have a service obligation. That would be in conflict with this grant opportunity.
All right, thank you for that clarification, Ann. Melania asks, am I eligible if I will be graduating in May, but awards are not dispersed until July?
I'm sorry, what is it in May?
They graduate in May.
In May of what year?
Sounds like this year.
You would not be eligible. You have to be enrolled in September 3rd by September 30th of 2024.
All right, Kristen asks, are there limitations to what we can spend the funds on?
It's at the applicant's discretion up to that award amount. The intention is for you to spend it on what your cost of attendance is for that school year.
Can this be used with PSLF? Not sure what that is. Ann, do you know what PSLF is? Jessica might.
So PS, say the initials again. Is it Public Service Loan Repayment?
PSLF.
Yeah. So Public Service Loan Repayment is a federal program totally independent of this.
All right. Okay. Elaine asks, I'm an IHSS worker for the county. Is that part of the state of California entity question on the application?
Yes, that would be considered an employee with the public entity through the state of California.
Hi, this is Clinton, just jumping in here again. So if you work for, there's several different in-home support services. If you work for the one that in the state of California, okay, we will require you to complete a conflict of interest letter when you apply and submit it to us, because our state controller's office is interested in any money that the state of California has paid out. So if you're gonna get money for a grant and you're also working for the state, that's what they're interested in, is they want to see if you have a conflict of interest in getting this. The same applies for people who work for a state college or a state university. It is also considered state of California employment. If you're in that situation, that is considered state employment. And so we recommend that you complete a conflict of interest letter. If you do not complete a conflict of interest letter and the state controller knows about this other money, what'll happen is it'll significantly delay your payment when it's time to pay you. So please keep in mind, in-home support services, state of California, work for a state college, work for a UC, we recommend completing a conflict of interest letter. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Clinton. Lots of great questions today. We'll keep going here. Let's see. Is there job placement assistance after graduation?
No, you must be fully enrolled to qualify and be eligible for this funding.
So, this is asking if we help people find jobs after for their service
We
obligation.
do not. Unfortunately, we are not an employment resource locator. But if you have questions about the position, if it qualifies, please email us at the BH programs email.
All right. Would a case manager for housing qualify? I'm currently employed as one and will continue 12 months after graduation.
The program, the position must be behavioral health, in the behavioral health field. So if it is just a program manager for housing or for a different role, it would not qualify. It does have to be in behavioral health and be a full-time position in behavioral health.
Let me add to that, though, that there could be cases where an individual is doing behavioral health case management in a housing agency, and in that case, it would qualify.
All right. Thank you both for that. Here's an interesting question. What if we have a disability? What is the minimum hours we can do in the service payback period?
I would recommend you email us your details to determine your circumstance.
All right. Let's see here. Next question. Okay, let's see. I received the grants and have submitted my deferment to Ms. Garcia. She had asked that I submit a graduation verification once I graduate with my application, but I do not see a place on the application to submit that. Do I send it directly in?
So you would submit that to me, to the program officer. The graduation verification would be submitted closer to the graduation date, where we open that up on the portal, the allowance for you to submit that. You'll be able to find it, but if you have any questions, please email us with that. And we can provide that form for you, and you can provide it back to me or to the BH programs website email address.
Let's see. I received the grant last time, but had to decline because I wanted to do my master's before the obligation. I was told last cycle the obligation was not deferrable until after school.
That is correct. You are eligible, you may be eligible to apply for this award. This cycle may be eligible with your master's.
Right. Do family nurse practitioners qualify for the grant if applying for or enrolled in a DMHNP program?
Yes, you are qualified.
Thank you, Anne. Variation on that theme. Does BSN qualify?
Can you repeat that, Chris?
Does the BSN qualify?
Yes. Oh, no, I apologize. A bachelor in science nursing would seek support from the Allied Health Scholarship Program. So go to our scholarships page and you'll be able to see when that cycle will open.
Yeah, I believe we have different resources for BSN folks. All right. So yeah, please check our website. Next question. Scroll down here, skip the repeat questions. A few of these we've answered a number of times. Let's see here. Are second career older students eligible?
Yes, if you are enrolled full-time in a degree program as of September 30th, 2024.
Absolutely, thank you. Emma says, I am using the browser and I can't see the pinned comment in the chat. If you do scroll through the chat, I know we've got a lot of questions in here, but we have posted that again a few times, and we'll go ahead and repost that one more time so it pops into the bottom. All right, let's keep going here. These are great questions, and I believe we had 90 minutes scheduled for today's webinar, and we are running out of that time. So trying to make sure that we get unique questions answered here today. All right, and I see, Christian, you've been answering some of the questions in the chat as well. I appreciate that. All right, looking at the grant guide, there's a maximum score of 150 based on different qualifications. Is there a minimum score you have to get to receive this grant?
There's not a minimum score that you have to receive. Once all of the applications are received, typically we do look at the applications competitively. So depending on what the rest of the pool is, how many applications we receive in proportion to the funding we have, there might be a case where, fairly modest scores, we're able to fund you, or there might be a case where there are higher scores at which we simply run out of funding. But there is no absolute minimum. As Clinton mentioned, our goal is to award as many folks as we possibly can, but we do anticipate we might receive more applications than we can fund. Also, the fact that I've said that, if that discourages somebody from applying, there could be less applicants, so still apply.
Thank you, Jessica. The online application asks for us to input a degree. Is it asking for the degree we are currently working on or the degree we have completed? There's no option for Bachelor of Arts. Do we just select NA?
Correct, and I think that's the question for the beginning of the profile in the application. You would select any of those that are listed on there, whatever may fit closer to what your degree might be at that time.
Okay. And similar question, if we are currently pursuing a senior level bachelor's degree program at a university while filling out the application, should we provide the start date of the initial enrollment in the university or the start date of the upcoming semester that we are registering for?
I'm not sure I understand that question. It would be the start date of the program that you are currently, or that you'd be enrolled in September of 2024. So it would be the start date of that program.
The upcoming year.
Correct.
I won't be residing in California until my program begins in August. Can I still apply?
You may not be eligible for that if you are not residing in California at the time of enrollment, at the time of the application of September 2024.
All right, thank you. Are applications evaluated on a rolling basis?
Jessica, may I ask you for that?
No, we don't accept them on a rolling basis. There is just for this, the application open and close date. So you have to apply during that period. And then if we receive funding authorization to offer the program in the future, then again, we would offer it with a very discrete open and close date for you to apply within that period.
All right, and Jessica, go ahead and stay on because I think this question is for you. I see that prior grantees are given 75 points. Does that mean that prior grantees have a greater advantage of receiving the award? How would we ensure that our applications are just as competitive for those of us that have never applied before?
Yeah, so part of HCAI's commitment in terms of continuity of funding is that if we have invested in funding you for 1 year, that we do prioritize then funding you for the rest of that program. As the team has noted, this is not block funding. So if you start with a 2-year program, we're not able, for this specific scholarship, other programs might vary, we're not able to guarantee you upfront funding for 2 years. But it is our intention that if we have it available, that we would prioritize that. There are not many folks that this will apply to. This is a very new program. And so what I can tell you is that if you didn't previously receive funding through this, I would highly encourage you to apply because there will be many folks that you're likely to compete against who also did not receive prior funding. And so hopefully that answers the question. If you have particular concerns, you can either repost or email us. I'm happy to try to answer this as best we can.
Thank you, Jessica. Let's see. That's a good question. After graduation, how do we notify you of employment? Will we be reached out to?
You will be reached out to closer to your graduation date, your estimated graduation date. And then at that point, you would be able to submit and download the graduation verification form and reach out also and let us know, and we could get you an employment verification form for your upcoming position.
All right, thank you. And Kay asks, I apologize, I think this question was asked before, but didn't fully understand the answer. If we have a cost of living adjustment that requires a greater need for funding, do we qualify for the scholarship given our need was not present previously?
Yeah, so in terms of scoring you based on past demonstrated financial need, you might not receive points there if you haven't had that past demonstrated financial need or economic disadvantage. That's points just towards your total score. Separately from that, we don't have you provide us with your FAFSA, with your expected family contribution, with your tax documentation, things like this. Instead, you're going to provide that cost of attendance. So that for current funding, that's going to be really driven by the cost of attendance and what your circumstances are as you're completing that out, looking towards the next year.
All right, let's see. Maria asks, I work for Catholic Charities, which is a nonprofit organization as a case manager for immigrants. Does that count for the part of the application that asks, do you currently work for a California-based nonprofit organization?
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Again, looking for, okay, can I apply if my graduation date is in December?
If you will be enrolled in a program in September of 2024, in a full-time program up to 6 units, semester units, you may be eligible to apply.
All right. My school was approved last year. It's online, but not headquartered in California, but it does have sites in California. Does it qualify?
The school has to be headquartered in California with the mailing address in California.
All right. I'm just going to take a couple more questions here. We are running out of time. I see a number of questions about specific universities being eligible. I think we've spoken to that a number of times about how to assess eligibility. Would SUD prevention work within the school system work for this grant?
Yes, it does.
All right. And then will we be audited?
We do not provide any tax guidance. You would want to seek resource information from a tax professional, but there may be tax consequences.
All right. Let's see.
Let me add to that, that all our programs are subject to audit.
Okay. And I'm going to got 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up for today. Do we need a conflict letter if we work for the county? So is any county employee needs a conflict letter?
Yes. If you are working for a government entity, you want to write if there is a conflict of interest.
All right. And then if we receive the Caring for Cal incentive, are we eligible to apply for this scholarship?
I'm sorry, if you received what was it?
A Caring for Cal stipend, or incentives, not stipend. It's another HCAI program, but
I'm going to let Anne help me with that.
I'm afraid I can't help you, but if you would email our box at bhprograms@hci.ca.gov, we can address your question with some research.
all right. Well, we are out of time, and see that there's still a number of questions to be answered here. So I do apologize. We've gotten pretty close to the end of our question list. So if we did not get to your question today, please do email us, and do remember Clinton's note that we are receiving a lot of requests right now. So we will get back to you as soon as possible. We aim to be back to you within 24 hours. Thank you all for your participation in the Q&A session. And again, it's bhprograms@hci.ca.gov. We will be posting the recording of this webinar and the slide deck on our website, as well as emailing it to all the registrants approximately 7 to 10 business days. And now Dr. Shaw will provide some closing remarks for today.
Hello, everyone. A lot of wonderful, great questions. So thank you so much to our team. So again, want to thanks to our grants team, and again to all of you for spending your valuable time with us today. Collectively, we are addressing mental health care shortages and taking steps to acknowledge the critical role that mental health has in our emotional well-being, which makes the role of behavioral health professionals so important. Also, as mentioned earlier in the webinar, just a quick reminder to consider applying for the Wellness Coach Scholarship Program, which is yet another critical profession that will support our vulnerable children and youth. For more information, join our informational webinar on April 18th at 2 p.m. So on behalf of our team, myself, and HCAI Executive Leadership, we thank you, and I will now turn it over to Chris to wrap us up.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. Well, we do appreciate everybody joining us today to learn more about the Behavioral Health Scholarship Program. We are excited to be able to offer it as a part of our health workforce development efforts at HCAI. Grateful for your participation with us today. We have some resource slides we would like to show you. Please follow us on online. We have our online presence is website, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. You can see some hashtags that you can look us up as well. With that, we do encourage you to go to our website. Please look at all of the wonderful resources that HCAI offers. Again, you can reach us at this phone number, 916-326-3700. Also, you can email us. We've said again, bhprograms@hci.ca.gov. If you'd like to stay up to date with all of the HCAI offerings, please subscribe to our mailing list. You can go to hci.ca.gov/mailing-list to sign up for that. As a reminder, the application cycle does close May 24th. Please get your applications in. Thank you so much for attending. And with that, we conclude today's webinar. Have a wonderful day.